How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and do a mission on the Harvest Corp map, but it's called Flooded Crossing. I need to go and grab 2 lots of medium logs, so I'm going to start off on the Heartlands map, as that's actually got a log station on it. And yeah, so I'm going to go down. By the way, I've already gone to the trailer store and got a trailer. A long story, I'll explain on the way. Yeah, down to the log store at the bottom, or log station, whatever it is, and I'm pretty much cutting right across the middle of the map to the Harvest Corp gateway. And yeah, for this one, in the end, I settled on using Dolphin and Lo4f, good old classic pair. Yeah, the reason why is earlier I actually wanted to do this, or I set it up to do it with the Zik 605R. I just thought, fancied a nice chilled mission. It's my birthday today, so I wanted to do like a nice quick chilled mission, and I was chilling with my cat a bit more because I don't like having to keep telling him to hang on a minute while I'm editing and stuff. But yeah, as I was, in fact, before I even set off from the garage, I quickly nipped to the trailer store, came back, and I was going to start the footage kind of as I did now, where I've already got the trailer, just to save. It's the same drive I've done in loads of videos, going from the Heartlands garage to the trailer store and back. And before I'd even set off from the garage, I suddenly thought, like, oh no, is that a small log carrier thing on the back of the Zix? And yeah, long story short, it was a small log carrier. It won't let you have a medium log carrier. So thankfully, when I kind of had a pretty good feeling it was, but I set off quickly, got to the log station, it wouldn't let me load them onto my Zix. So I did the quit and reload method, because I knew it'd sort of load me back up to the garage. And then yeah, I probably ended up burning more time than doing this mission, just trying to go through different vehicles, trying to work out what setup I want to take, because I've got to grab 2 lots of medium logs. Obviously I could do with a truck that can actually carry medium logs itself, and then I've got the medium log trailer. And there's not a whole lot of options, to be honest. Or not, like, there is a few more, but then I kind of know that there's various trucks that would probably struggle a bit. I was considering taking a vehicle, possibly the Zix again, but having like the log crane thing on it, and then taking another vehicle with a sideboard trailer, like a sideboard add-on thing at the back, putting 6 lots of logs into there, that I'd be able to load it up, but then I'd have to tow at least 1 medium log trailer with me or something. I have something that I can pack the logs into, so I could actually kind of drop them off at the mission. So then yeah, that was sort of defeating the purpose really of if I had to take 3 lots of medium logs, it'd probably be worth it to do that way and drop like 9 logs in a sideboard trailer. Or again, I'm sorry, sideboard add-on. But yeah, just for 2 lots, it was like I'm gonna have to take 2 vehicles regardless. And yeah, I was considering a road train. The reason I didn't do a road train in the end is because it normally has like a speed cap on it, where it won't let you go above a certain speed when you're towing another vehicle behind you. In the scheme of things, it probably wouldn't have mattered too much, especially if I got something. If I had the Zix as the front vehicle and then something possibly like a lighter vehicle towing along behind me. But yeah, long story short, it'd be nice if they kind of opened up more options on different vehicles. I think particularly that every week on like the live streams I usually play with different mods, you sort of yeah, you get treated to like well equipped vehicles that then when you go back to the vanilla game, you kind of just on little things when I'm setting up to start missions, it's kind of like, oh damn, I can't have X, Y and Z on that vehicle. It must have been like a mod version of it. Cutting across here, just mentioning it because there's a load of roots in the water there, but this time I managed to get over it without it snagging me up too bad. And to be fair, the Dolphin was doing pretty decent. I kind of knew that a lot of the roads were going to be this sort of thing with like the sort of dirt roads, but again in this phase they're pretty boggy and brutal, so I was hoping in various areas, like I'm doing right now I believe, cut across to the side of the road really and just use like as many of the grass verges as you can along the side, because then it'll actually let you get up into 2nd or 3rd gear and then you can put it in high gear. And yeah, Dolphin's always motored along just really nicely in high gear. I even was very close to putting the off-road gearbox in this case the Dolphin tonight, but it was that high gear I didn't want to let go of. But I am going to mess around and kind of test it soon, because I've still been going through different vehicles and I've noticed that yeah, some do still let you get up to 7th, 8th gear and stuff, but there's quite a few trucks that don't, and there's definitely something going on that's like physically holding them back. It's funny actually, because one of the vehicles that doesn't get held back is that new step pike. And I've kind of noticed that from season to season, there's usually the vehicle that gets added that season tends to have like a little bit of a gain that other vehicles don't get so much. I'm trying to think, like in Burning Mill, obviously you unlock like the Azov, that racing truck version, but then even like the DLC Land Rovers you could get in that phase, they just drove a lot nicer on the racetrack, so it was, whereas a lot of other stuff was still a bit awkward, so I don't know, sort of helps twist your arm a little bit trying to get that vehicle. At least to be fair, the step pike in this game actually just comes with this season, it's not like another DLC on top. And yeah, I believe it was now at this point, I was cutting along the side just as I was going back onto the road there, hit a bit of a dip, and it didn't really get a lot of warning, didn't even get time to fire a panic winch out or anything. So I did the self-respecting thing, quit and reloaded. And this is basically where it loaded me back up to, and I'm now stuck. Yeah, it's like roots in the ground, but again, they're just horrifically brutal in this phase. Like, it's not really that I didn't have the power to get over them, it hooks the vehicles on them, and in my case then it was the trailer it hooked on it, so there's not, like, yeah, even winching forwards or whatever, and these the logs are a little bit on the tippy side. To be fair, as far as like, you know, a sense of realism and keeping you kind of immersed in the game, I do kind of know that these well, when you're carrying these sort of logs, the weight sits pretty high. Kind of, yeah, I imagine they're a bit awkward in real life as well. But the trailer behind, the medium log trailer, is still a gigantic pain in the arse, because every time you try and reverse, it just, yeah, that dolly axle starts tucking under the frame of the trailer, and then it immediately wants to tip. But thankfully, a bit of like reversing, flooring it forward, taking my chances, and eventually like the wheel actually just bumped over the root and I was able to get out of there. Drop the hammer, get it back in high gear. And it's funny, it's one of those missions tonight where certain sections are absolutely flying along thinking, oh, I'm making pretty decent progress, and then other sections are absolutely murdering me. You see, it's funny there, just crossing that little bit of road. I think even there it had me like in some kind of weird rev cap or gear cap where it wouldn't let me get out at first. Fortunately, I'd already drawn my plans which way I was going. I was kind of cutting across this field, which to be fair is a pretty nice smooth field. It's barely even got like deformable terrain. I was able to tick along quite nicely. And obviously I got a goddamn horse with me, because one of the main things with the Dolphin is, even though you can get like, if you can get into high gear, you can cover a lot of ground very quickly. As far as like speedrun missions go, it's a very good one. Apologies, there's a little glitch. But yeah, it's only got 200 litres, so it's not too long, and it runs out. And yeah, this is like the other river crossing section. As I'm like, the way the camera's sort of orientated now, over, it might even be able to see it in the background in the top right there, there's like the normal crossing over the river, which is way less brutal than this one. I've came across this one a few times. That's what she said. I did it in the P16, and then what was the other vehicle I came over here in? It might possibly have even been the Dolphin last time. I can't remember off the top of my head. But as long as I can keep going forward, particularly again, like as far as a bit of realism goes and all that, I kind of knew it was going to be slightly slow going in these sort of sections with this many logs on the go. But I think now, yeah, I got hooked on something again, which definitely not a fan of that, like the roots in the ground, because as I say, just once they hook you, it's not really skill or anything that gets you out of it. It's just pure blind luck, really. You can just keep reversing and ramming into it and all sorts of stuff, and fingers crossed eventually it'll like unhook and let you carry on. While this is ticking along slightly, when I was my brother come down the other day, we're chatting away, and he's told me before, it was just, again, it's one of them, a lot of stories and stuff that I can't even remember, until sort of I'm reminded of it. But it's a bit of a random one, but yeah, it was just making me laugh, was where he used to live in the Isle of Man, they used to get all sorts of like cars and bikes and stuff, because there wasn't any MOTs or like roadworthiness things going on. Just if there was a car or bike to be sold, you could buy it and drive it around. And they ended up buying this little 125 scooter, and Ad was saying they were trying it, but the revs were sticking on it for whatever reason. The throttle was sticking, so they were like, oh hell no, I'm not going on that. Like, have a little mess around, but nothing crazy. And one of their mates, he's just the sort of guy, I've met him, like, he's funny. But yeah, he's another one of them rare ones. And yeah, when most people are like, yeah, I'm not going on that bike because the throttle's sticking, this guy's the sort of one you look to, because, you know, there's certain people that just have no fear of dying, and they'll do it, whether it's, I don't know if it's, well, not peer pressure, I don't know if it's like wanting to show off, or I think some people just don't worry about that sort of stuff, which, yeah, fair play to them. I worry about that sort of shit too much. If I'm going along faster and I'm like, oh god, I hope tyre doesn't blow on the car or whatever. But yeah, anyway, they gave him this scooter, and he was driving along up and down the road, and then my brother just said when he tried to pull over on the scooter to go next to them, but the throttle stuck, and then he went forward and hit the back of, I think it was like a tranny van they had with, like, essentially like a, call it a sort of tipper thing, but it's like a sideboard in this game, like one of them. And yeah, my brother said he was stood behind this vehicle in front, and as the guy's throttle stuck and he went forward, he smashed into the back corner of the sideboard, and he said it twisted his head round like 180 degrees, and he said this guy was looking back at me, and even though when he caught the sideboard, he said it twisted his helmet as well, so you could sort of think maybe it just shifted his helmet around, but his head actually didn't go as far around in the helmet. But my brother was like, I swear to God, I made eye contact with him, and he said, I don't know how this guy didn't break his neck, but yeah, because the throttle stuck, he just went flying down the road, caught his helmet and head on this bloody sideboard, and had like an exorcist neck thing going on. Turned around, looked at my brother, and then kind of fell off the thing and was like, yep, that's enough of that. Can confirm, throttle does stick. But yeah, he's just one of them people that, I don't know, yeah, has no fear of like bad stuff happening. And at this point, I just quickly got the loaf, moved over the roof. The roof rack fuel, I actually used some of the loaf fuel as well. He had 12 fuel left. He's a good one like that. He sips the fuel, he doesn't nail it. And yeah, more routes to climb over there, which I got stuck on in the P16 when I was going the opposite way on this mission. Crawling along, trying to get over to the left side so I can get onto the grass and hopefully get up the gears a little bit. And it's funny, because normally I would go over that bridge there, tip over and be like, god damn it, I knew I should have gone round. You can see I was heading to it then and I was like, nah, got a feeling that's bait. So I swerved back over to the left, figured I could bump my way across this ditch. However, I managed to get up a little bit of the way, but then the bumper was just completely dug in. I had it a little bit out here, not very long, but I was messing around with a few winches and it wasn't really having it still. So in the end, trying to reverse, but you see that's the scary thing with this trailer. If I reverse much more it's going to tip, but thankfully there is actually some trees here, so I can kind of yeah, stick a winch on it and brute force it back a little bit. And yeah, it turns out I'd argue the bridge is probably the best way to go. Maybe if you've got a vehicle, I will say the Dolphin's got a little bit of a nose on it that can catch. It's just one of those bumpers, it doesn't really scuff off stuff, it kind of digs in once you get it. By now it'd be pretty cool if they added a raised suspension or something for the Dolphin. It's one of the OG vehicles, and there is you know, there's a handful of other decent vehicles in this game that have been in the game since the beginning. That they've added little tweaks and stuff to, like the clubs. I think Dan had raised suspension, Bruce. So yeah, it'd be pretty cool if they let the Dolphin have it. And preferably, I still vote a roof rack for this truck. It's got the perfect cab roof for it. It'd fit pretty nicely. Yeah, what she said. Yeah, finally though, after I made it out of that bit, I could actually drop the hammer a little bit. And from previous experience, this swampy patch here is just a complete killer, so I'd suggest swerving off to the left, stick to the grass, because if you go along that little mud bank just to the right of me, even though it's not as brutal, there's roots in there, and yeah, you'll tip basically. Ask me how I know. But yeah, as you can see, cut across to the right, just go along the grass, and it's way easier. Whatever's getting, it's like death mud back there, but it's completely OP. Every vehicle I've tried going through there in, it just completely stops you dead really. So thankfully there is actually trees and I think tree stumps and stuff, or a telegraph pole that you can usually reach with a winch, so you can get out of there. But yeah, it's just completely, it dominates every vehicle you're going to take in there. It just doesn't feel like it stands a chance really. Anyway, yeah, through the gateway to the Harvest Court map. Little ghost thing going on. Do you know what? I need to try at some point. Travel through a gateway like that, and I'll keep the loaf within the confines of my ghost truck to keep it as a ghost. I want to know if I can get over tree stumps that way. I've got a feeling it won't, even though I'm a literal ghost. I'm sure it'll find a way to still smag me. And yeah, apologies. All I'm doing now is driving forward down the road. It's a pretty simple kind of end of the mission on the Harvest Court map, but I didn't draw a little blue line along the map for some reason. It might be the first time I've forgot to even do that. Yeah, trailer flipped over in the swamp that I moved kind of when I was exploring the Harvest Court map. And yeah, like I say, it's from the gateway, you just follow in the first road along really, and then you get to this section which is, or used to be like a massive bridge. There's kind of, you can see mounds of dirt to the left of where the bridge was that you can drive over. And I was kind of thinking, because it's called flooded crossing, and when you read in the description it sort of says like repairing it with logs, you can see a little puff of smoke come up out of the river, but I thought it'd build a bit more of a either a log pathway or the bridge going across, even though it looked like it used to be like a cement bridge. I was assuming maybe it'll build like some kind of log bridge temporary alternative, but yeah, it didn't really look like much was going on, so I needed to go and investigate. I think for the mission it was about 5,500, not, it probably should have been near at 8. But yeah, there's nothing going on there. Even now I was like, well, there's still a log, one of those trees sitting in the way. But yeah, thankfully they've kind of put little log paths in the actual river sections, which is pretty handy to be honest. I'd definitely say, I believe at some point we're going to have to bring one of those big fan blades on an 8-slot trailer to this map, and if that's the case, I'd pretty highly recommend doing this mission first, flooded crossing, just to get those sections done, because particularly like the humps on those like little mounds of dirt between each log path, you're gonna, like, if those logs weren't there, you'd dip a lot deeper into the river, and trying to get that 8-slot trailer over there is going to be an absolute pain in the arse. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend that. It's worth getting done. I couldn't resist. I have to go and have a little look in the loaf. It's not actually OG loaf, this one. I painted it grey, but it still looks, it's not far off the black colour. But there's only one OG loaf. He's the original. And yeah, as you can see, I mean, the loaf went sailing across there, so it's pretty easy to cross. I mean, the loaf's got damn horse over vehicle, he climbs over all sorts, but yeah, it was a nice little walk in the park. But anyway, I'll see another one in the bag. That's about it for today. Showed them cones. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf, because he is still a goddamn beast. And I'll be back soon.